Does it ever feel like being a child-free adult means that you're just constantly defending or apologizing for your own life choices? Like, how often are we just being bombarded with quote unquote well intentioned advice or questions that often leave us feeling confused and unheard? Well, not anymore. This is the podcast for all things living and navigating adulthood without kids and without apology. Hey, welcome to Unapologetically Childfree, the everything that you need in one place podcast for a life without kids. I'm Maggie Dickens, a licensed therapist and your child-free hype woman, here with candid conversations about friendships, lifestyle, and everything that defines our child-free life. So join me on this journey where we get to live life unapologetically. Hi, welcome to the very first episode of Unapologetically Child Free. I'm Maggie Dickens. I'm a licensed therapist. I'm a child-free woman. And I believe that being child-free is my superpower. And I'm here to talk about all things living as an adult without kids. Okay, so you're probably wondering, what does unapologetically child-free mean? Why is that the name of the podcast? Why is that the name of my brand as a whole? And it's a really great question. And one that I'm definitely going to answer in long form. Okay. We're going to get into it for sure. Right now, I wanted to introduce myself a little bit more, let you know me a little bit deeper, because I hope to get to know you over the course of this entire journey that we're going to be on together. So let's dive in and get started. But first, let's pay attention to Trixie over there. What are you doing? Yeah, we have a special guest. We weren't supposed to have guests this episode, but I guess she said she's coming anyway. And she does tell me what to do. All right. So to get in the nit and gritty of it, why do I say that being a child-free millennial is my superpower? Well, frankly, it's because I was doing some of this stuff that I'm going to be talking to you about and that other experts and friends and peers will be talking to you about. I've been doing it for a long time, not even knowing that's what I was doing. I have been defying the pressures to follow a traditional path of what family, quote unquote, looks like since as long as I can remember. And this means everything from knowing that I was child free by choice for a very long time. I was very adamant by the time I was 20. And also being aware that family is people that you choose. And in future episodes, you'll hear me talk about some of the greatest relationships that I've had that may or may not still exist in my life. However, it is very important to acknowledge that even as a little kid, recognizing that my friends could become my family, as close as my family, if not closer. I mean, that is beginning the same process that leads to saying, I can have a family with me and my partner, or me and my animals, or me and my plants. Those aren't real. But I mean, family is what we make it and what we get out of the relationship, as long as it's a mutual relationship, right? But I came into some problems, and you've probably experienced the exact same problems, which are those child-free bingo statements. And one that I have gotten so often in my life is, but Maggie, you'd be such a good mother. And often that was coming from watching me with my nephew, who was born when I was a senior in high school, or watching me with the kids that I was around when I was a nanny or worked at a daycare in college, or just watching me with a caring and empathetic heart reach out to friends and colleagues and just have that, what a lot of people say, maternal instinct and maternal behaviors with. Something we're going to dive into in future episodes. Being a kind, generous, caring, empathetic person does not equal motherhood. And choosing not to be a mom of tiny humans does not mean that I'm wasting any of those character traits, because I am able to take all of those quote unquote mothering behaviors and pour them into all types of people and animals and experiences that may not have been able to do if I was pouring that all into a tiny human or three or four. Right. And the other thing about these child-free bingos, like Maggie, you'd be such a good mother, is that not once did that statement somehow magically start my biological clock. It never started ticking. I don't I don't think it exists. Research is there to back me up on that. However, those well-intentioned or snarky comments had the opposite effect. It had me going in my own mind and saying, "Yeah, I know I would be, but I don't want to." Instead of that self-doubt, which is something that I wasn't always able to do. I wasn't always able to mentally clap back to those child-free bingos and be able to feel secure in myself. And this journey that I've been on, because it started when I was 20, has led me to this conversation with you. It has led me to a place where I'm able to say, "I've got you. I've been there." So much so that when I was 20, and this was back in, I think, 2006, I inquired with my gynecologist about sterilization. And I definitely got a big no from my gynecologist, which to me is quite interesting and funny and ironic and infuriating all at the same time. And we're going to talk about the process of getting sterilized by choice and what that looks like. I'm hoping to have on some people who have gone through that process as I have not. And let's just say that being 20 years old and walking into a gynecologist's office and being like, "I don't wanna have babies. Can we make this permanent?" I was hoping was going to solidify that choice for myself in my entire in all of with all the people in my life. It did not. Okay. So we've covered that I knew that I didn't wanna be child-free for a very long time. The problem was that was when I was 20. And this whole grow up, become an adult, figure your shit out, have everything lined up to live your life, to its fullest. I had no idea what that meant. And to be honest, some days I still even ask myself, what the heck does that mean? And I have to go back to my value set. I have to go back to what is important to me. At the time, I had no clue. And that was where I began to feel lost and started to feel quite lonely in my choice to be child free because so many people, when they said live your life to the fullest, their path was find a job that you stay at for a really long time, find a partner, find a house, have babies, end of story. And since that wasn't going to be my path, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where my puzzle pieces fit into that grand scheme of a fulfilling life, quote unquote. And so as I transitioned from undergrad into graduate school, I have had people making comments about how my work was my child. Heck, I even fell into that and talked about some of the projects I was working on being my baby. And it's so cringy to think about that today because that is not at all the person that I am or the person that I want to be. I want to be more than my job. And a lot of child free people want the same thing. And many of the stereotypes and tropes for a child free person is that there's a hole in your life because you don't have kids. And so then you fill it with something else. All right. So we've covered the cringy moment that I did fall into the stereotype. I did make work this primary priority in my life. And honestly, I don't know what else I would have done back then because I didn't have the knowledge that me feeling lonely and isolated was not going to be solved by work, was not going to be solved by me moving up the quote unquote corporate ladder and gaining more and more degrees and student loans and all of those things. Instead, what I really needed was a group of people in my life who understood me, not only accepted me for who I was and the life that I wanted to have. I needed people who got it, who really understood, people like you. And at the time, this is now I'm thinking about 2012. I am about to graduate graduate school. I'm living in Chicago. I am lonely. I am so lonely. And so lonely, in fact, that I went to a bar one night looking for friends. And I met one. She's amazing. She's still one of my friends. And in finding this friend and the friends that I now have today that I began connecting with back in 2012, by doing that, I was able to find a place of rest within myself that let me figure out what the heck I wanted to do with my life. It also let me twist and turn and change my mind 3 or 4 times and be in a supportive environment for people who got it, who weren't giving me the "try doing that when you have kids" statements that I would hear from people who didn't really understand or get the decision to live a child-free lifestyle. And that's what unapologetically child-free is. It is living life without kids and doing so without feeling the need to apologize for where your life takes you. Whether or not that is something that is long term fulfilling, like finding those great friends, which I hope that we can help you do here in the unapologetically child free community, but also in making those decisions to, like me, perhaps move halfway across the world. Or for others, it's buying that small home in a small town and cultivating a garden. So, how the heck do we navigate adulthood when so many of the rules about adulthood are completely catered to the choice of having kids? Because there's no manual. And even if there were, we are all so unique and dynamic that our value set and where we find purpose and whether or not we think that we need to find purpose and all of those things are going to be individualized. Anyway, so that's what we're here for. We're here to chat once a week. I want you to think about this as you and I just hanging out in your living room or on your patio or at a cafe or a bar. And we're just talking and we're catching up on what's going on in your life. And sure, some of that is going to be focused on our experience as a child free person. And we're going through how to navigate the language when people aren't listening to us and they don't get it. But also, it's going to be talking about how do I even know if I'm making the right decision in XYZ situation? And so as a licensed therapist, I've got some tools and tricks up my sleeve. I'm not your therapist, but I'm going to give you these tools and tricks that you can access and use in your own life to help you feel more confident, to help you reduce the number of times you feel the need to apologize for simply being yourself. This is a place to come and hang out and to celebrate the adult life that you are perhaps fumbling through if you're like me, or you're starting to find your momentum in. This is a place to be child free and do so unapologetically. All right. So, will you forgive me for defining the term and using the terms and the definition? I hope so, because I am here as a peer, an expert, a friend, a guide, and we're going to have so much freaking fun together. All right. All right. Let's back up just a little bit because I mentioned that this is technically episode 0. I think I did. If I didn't, this is technically episode 0. And the reason that it's called episode 0 is because that we're in transition from my previous podcast, All the Feels, and this podcast, Unapologetically Child Free. And the reason that I stopped doing All the Feels and that there was so few episodes were 2 things: complete imposter syndrome and wanting to record and edit videos for YouTube and tailor them also for a great audio podcast and do all of that myself with very little knowledge and tools and all of those things. And it was very, very daunting. It was very daunting. And the other part was I was attempting to be too broad. I wanted to do this podcast for you. I wanted to build this child free community. And I felt even then we're talking 2021, even then, I am still in this place of I don't want to alienate other people because what I have to offer about how to navigate adulthood is universal. And yet it didn't work because it felt inauthentic. Yes, it's universal. And these are tools that I talk to all types of people about. And I teach them these tools, and I'll teach you as well. The thing that makes this so much more fun for me and something I know that I'm going to be able to keep up with is this is not a how to podcast. This is not a place where every single week you're going to come in and I'm going to have the latest research on a a tool for emotional regulation or something like that. We're going to talk and we're going to connect and we are going to build a friendship even through the interwebs. At least that's my hope and that's my goal. I want you to show up authentically, genuinely, unapologetically, if you will. And I'm going to do the same. What I hope that you get out of this new podcast is more than simply self development and self help skills, but instead you have a community and you have entertainment and you are able to feel seen and heard and understood in a way that I know that I wasn't 15 years ago. And so that's it. We have reached the end of episode 0 of the Unapologetically Child Free podcast. Hopefully, I was able to give you a nice, gentle introduction into our community and helped you to see that this is the place for you because we are going to be covering things from our experiences as child free people and dodging those bingos and dealing with finances, aging parents, in law stuff, decor and planning our lives as much as we're going to get into the nit and gritty of our purpose. And if you think you need one, and navigating friendships and finding connection in real life as well as online. And hopefully, we're going to have some good laughs along the way and allow ourselves to be. For me, I am an introverted, awkward, pretty dorky person, and I own it and I love it. I love those things about myself. And I'm hoping to learn about the things that you love about you as well. And so here we are. We have come to the end. I am so grateful and quite shocked that my dogs didn't bark. And I'm so grateful for you for being here and for listening to my tangents and all of those things. And I would be so grateful if you would subscribe and hit the notification button or whatever that is on the device that you're listening to or the media platform that you're listening to so that you can be along on this journey every single week. Like I said, sometimes it's going to be quite informal, similar to this. Sometimes it's going to be a little bit more structured. We'll have some guests on the show. If you would like to be on the show, just send me an email or comment. Can you comment on podcasts? Just let me know. Find me on Instagram, which is at childfree_communities. And I look forward to getting to know you even more.